So again, I should have walked into the computer lab. I should have switched users to ComTech. I should have already opened up Google Classroom, and this is Photoshop right here. I should have double-clicked and also opened Photoshop. If you haven't done that yet, I would pause the video and go and do those things. Now when I go to Google Classroom, I immediately click on Classwork and I scroll down. And you will see the Lastname challenge is available for you to look at. And inside Lastname challenge is a lot of different PSD documents, which mean Photoshop documents. And what you get to do today is you get to open up one of these challenge documents and create an image based on what has already been drawn inside. So quickly looking at challenge 10, those look like mountains to me, or that could be part of a bridge. As I scroll up, this looks like a road. This looks like water, right? What else could you do to make it not just be water? So be creative with all of these different lines that we have. I am going to work with this one today. I'm not sure how to get it open in Photoshop, so I'm going to open up the challenge steps and see what I need to do. So in order to download my image, I need to make sure that I open it, that I click on the image that I want to open and it launches into a new tab. And then I want to click on these three dots and then do open new window and then press the download button. So let me go do those steps. So I want to do this one, so I'm clicking on it. And then I'm clicking on these three dots, open a new window, and then I'm pressing the download button. When I click here, it should automatically open in Photoshop. Again, I have Photoshop open, so that's why it launches faster. As soon as it's open, remember we always have to name our project correctly. So I'm going to close out of that and I'm going to look and see. I need to rename it and I need to make sure that it is Lastname Your Name. Okay? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to do File, Save As, navigate to my folder, so Desktop, and then get to my folder right here, and I am naming it Lastname Challenge, and I'm leaving that one in case I have time to do another one. So it says Feral Challenge 1 and I'm saving it. If I decided to download 10, then it would say Feral Challenge 10, and so I'm pressing save and I'm leaving it as a PSD document because we're working in Photoshop. See, now we have two layers. Now it says, how do I create a new layer? Because remember, it's really important every single time you add a new object that you add a new layer. So it says, go to the top of the screen and do Layer, New Layer. Or this is the keyboard shortcut. So I am going to go back to Photoshop and I'm going to do Layer, New Layer. And I'm going to name it Water. Because these look like they could be maybe floating jellyfish. So I'm going to see if I can do that. So here's my water layer. And now it says, how do I draw? I can select a brush tool to draw. And remember, we talked about these tool options last class. All right, so I need to check and make sure that those are correct. So I'm going to come here and I am going to click on my paintbrush, and down here is my color picker. And I'm going to choose a blue. I'm going to choose a light blue. And I'm going to press OK. And now I can paint. All right. If I want my brush to be bigger, I can come up here and I can make the size of my brush bigger. If I want it to be smaller, I can make the brush smaller here. Now, one thing that we noticed when we were working is that this blue covered up everything. And if we look at the order of our layers menu, we notice that the water layer is on top. If I don't click, I don't want to click on the word, I don't want to click here, I want to click over here where there's nothing. And if I click and then drag with my mouse, I can drag it below. Now I want to work on doing sand at the bottom. So I'm going to do layer, new layer, and I'm going to name it what it is, sand. And I'm going to change my color, not to blue, but more to a brown or a tan for sand. And again, I'm making sure that that layer is highlighted, it's sand, and I'm going to paint. And now I have my sand. And if I wanted, I could do a little bit of a darker color and maybe come up and get a soft brush or something that's speckled. And I could come down here, make my brush bigger, and kind of click to create a more sand-like texture. Okay? Now, again, I'm on the correct layer. If I click on this Move tool, do you see how it only moves that layer? If I, by accident, wanted to go back and work on my water, so I'm going to go back to a blue, and I started to paint on my water, this is bad because if you see, it's attached to my sand layer because that's what's highlighted. See? So I need to go in my history and I need to undo. So these are all the things that I've done since I've opened Photoshop. So I'm going to click up and it gets rid of that last step. Now if I want to paint blue water, I should go back, click on the water. It's highlighted blue, and now I can get my brush and maybe the water is going to be a little bit of a different color at the bottom here. Okay. If I want to use the eraser, I can press and hold on the eraser and it pops out more options, and I can get the eraser, soft edge, and make my brush a little bit bigger. And I could erase. So maybe I want to have it look like there's sun coming through here. All right. And then maybe I want to start to create the jellyfish legs. So now I can do layer, new layer, jellyfish. And I want my jellyfish to also be blue. And I want to get a brush. And maybe I'll try this brush. A little too big. And I can create some jellyfish legs. And again, I'm looking at my layers menu and making sure that that is the correct layer that's highlighted. And make some more. Okay. If you are frustrated in Photoshop today, don't be. The only thing that I want you guys to start playing around with and experimenting with is coming down to your color picker, picking different colors, playing around with your paintbrush and your eraser. I wouldn't really vary farther than that, okay? Definitely keeping an eye on that layers menu. But that's really all that I want you to do today. Do I want you to finish this challenge? No. If you do believe that you finish it, then you're starting another one and you're going to continue to work on them until the bell rings today. But this is all that I want you to do, is just kind of play around with it and see how it works. If you create a challenge that you don't like, then you can close out without saving it and try something else. If you want to start completely over, let's say on this one I want to start completely over, I can go all the way up in my history and I can click here, and if you notice, everything is gone. And now maybe I'm going to come up with another idea where, you know, I want it to be more of like a yellow background with my brush. Okay. And again, I'm making that brush big and painting it. Again, it's covering everything. Oh no, look at what I did. So I'm going back in my history because, whoop-dee, I forgot to make a new layer. And I'll call it yellow. And again, it's covering everything up over here because it's in front. So if I click and drag it below, it goes behind again. When you are ready to leave for the day, you are doing a file save as again, leaving it as a Photoshop. You have to. You have to because of the layers. These are layers. If you make it a JPEG, that's bad news, and there's nothing you can do about it next class. So make sure that you save it. Yes, I want to replace it with the old version, and I press OK. And that's it. All right. So please check out all of the directions here. It tells you, you made a mistake. How do you work with your layers? If you want to play around with zooming in and zooming out, you can. If you want to play around with moving something around, you can. You just simply use the move tool here, and it allows you to move that layer. If you want to try and do size rotate, you can, but this is a little bit too advanced right now, so I would wait on that, as well as these things as well. Okay, so again, the focus is just play, have fun, get comfortable with it, and really only experiment with the paintbrush, the eraser, the color picker window, and very important, that layers menu.